Good afternoon and welcome to UFOA Australia. We've got a very special guest with us today, and that's Monica Norman. And she's here today to talk about Paul's life and all the things that she can tell us about what he's done over the years and his efforts, his great efforts into looking into the field of ufology.
That's right.
Yes, excellent. So maybe we'll start at the beginning with Paul's life. And obviously an American,
Yep.
but lived in Australia for a very long time. Tell us a little bit about how he come to live in Australia.
Well, he came out here and lived at Yallourn at the power station up there and worked.
Okay.
And his wife and younger son Larry came out a little bit later than him. Then Jeffrey, his eldest son, he came out 12 months or something after they originally came out here.
Okay, and you're his daughter-in-law, is that correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
So he lived in Yallourn for a period of time.
Yeah, I don't know for how long, and he was a very lucky man having me for a daughter-in-law.
Tell me why.
Because when you're special, you're special.
Do you like that, folks? So obviously you were very close to Paul for a very long time.
Yes, very close. Actually, he doesn't now because he can't write and what, but he always sent me birthday cards and Christmas cards, gave them to me and put down how special you were, and he doesn't know what he could have done without me.
Okay. From what I've seen, he was a bit of a writer.
Yes, he was writing on the UFO trail or something, and he had he was going to make a documentary too with somebody. I don't know who.
Yeah.
But I don't know what happened about all that, and I don't know where that paperwork is.
Okay, all right. So let's just digress a little bit. He was working in Yallourn, I think you said.
That's right.
What was his speciality working down in Yallourn? Do you know what sort of work he was doing?
It was a power station. He was superintendent. He came to Melbourne and worked at Richmond. He was a superintendent at the power station in Melbourne, Richmond.
Yep.
And he worked there for years, and he lived at 12 Breeze Street, Carrum.
Okay.
He rented
Yes.
a place there.
Yep.
And he loved it. He never wanted to own a house. He owned one in America.
Yep.
Didn't want another one because you had to do the lawns and everything.
Yeah, okay.
He didn't have time for that. No time for that.
No,
it was UFOs.
Oh, yeah, UFOs was obviously his passion.
Yes.
So he lived in Yallourn for a period of time, then moved to Melbourne.
That's right.
Was he doing anything with UFOs at the point in time when he first arrived to Australia, or what kicked it up the whole thing off? Why did he become involved with UFOs?
Well, he was worked in a power station. He came out off duty after an afternoon shift.
Yep.
And he saw something hovering above the power station.
This is in Australia?
In America.
Oh, in America. Okay, yep.
And he was in the Navy, American Navy,
Yep.
Pearl Harbor and whatever. And his father was a minister, I can't remember what,
Minister
Presbyterian,
of
I
some
think.
religion.
Yes.
Yep.
And so they were good church-going people
Yep.
and all that sort of thing.
Yep.
And he came out and he saw this thing hovering above the power station, and he knew it wasn't a helicopter.
Okay.
It wasn't an aeroplane. He didn't know what it was, and that's what started it all.
That's the standard procedure for everybody, isn't it, folks? We, for our very first sighting, we see something and we go through the whole list. It's not a plane, it's not a balloon, it's not anything we've ever seen before, and the final conclusion is it's a UFO. And what does that mean? That's unidentified flying object. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a flying saucer or people from other planets. It's just unidentified, but we obviously, over the years, it grinds away at us. We want to know more, and we want to find out exactly what it is. Sure, it could be from another world, but we don't really know. But that's obviously what Paul was trying to come to the conclusion of what these things actually were, and he approached it in a very scientific way, didn't he?
Yes, and even the Bible, back to the Bible, he had it all written down somewhere and showed me where whoever come down on a cloud, I can't remember who. What's a cloud? Clouds can't come down from heaven.
Mm-hmm.
He sort of thought that could have been a UFO.
Okay.
And the bright light that blinded people when
when you pass away, sort of thing, you see a bright light.
No, this
No?
is biblical
Oh,
in the Bible.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because could see where that could be UFO in the Bible. He
I see what you're
believed
saying. Yep.
they were around in those times.
Yep. Yep.
And he's been to other countries and things and seen their drawings in Aboriginal caves.
Yes.
And other countries where they've drawn these, and here's UFOs.
Yep.
These, or an unidentified flying whatever it was.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Now, in his early days, he worked with Mr. Hynek, I believe.
That's right, NASA.
Yes.
Yes.
And what was his involvement there?
I don't know a lot about that, but I know last time I was talking to Peepa, he said he was very proud of working with Professor Hynek,
Hynek, yep.
and with NASA.
Okay,
yes,
yep.
yeah.
Do you want to explain just quickly for the people, when you say Peepa, where that comes from?
Yes, Peepa, when we had our first child, Jeffrey, he used to, they didn't say grandfather or whatever it was Peepa. So Peepa used to say to us, "Oh, people think I've wet the bed." And I said, "Well, too bad." So he's Peepa.
So the name stuck.
Yes, everybody calls him Peepa.
So later on, after he'd got involved with UFOs, and clearly he was involved with the VUFOA group at the time with Judith McGee, and pretty much ran that organisation.
Yeah.
What do you know of that organisation, and what his involvement was with that, and where that led him in his lifetime?
Well, he did a lot of research.
Yes.
And they went to all their meetings, never missed a meeting.
Yes.
Couldn't have a meeting without Peepa. He's been all over the world. He's interviewed people all around the world. And that was his passion. And if he'd go on a trip around Australia, say to anywhere, he'd stop at all the police stations along the way and talk to the local police.
Okay.
And they were always really, really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
So they didn't sort of like turn the other way and didn't want to talk to him. They were quite open.
No. And the Warrnambool Standard, the local paper, he was in it every 5 minutes. Peepa, go see the Warrnambool Standard. Sure enough, there's a story, there's Peepa's photo on the Warrnambool Standard with whatever he's done next or doing or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there was a period of time there which got a little bit difficult for Paul, and he was helped along the way with somewhere to live, which turned out to be Moorabbin Airport for a short period of time.
He actually didn't have a problem with somewhere to live because he lived here.
Okay, tell me a bit more about that.
Well, when my husband was killed, you know when somebody dies you get money and jewels and things?
Some of us do.
I got
some
Peepa.
You got money and jewels.
And he moved in.
Okay, so he moved in here with you?
Yeah, just like that.
Yeah.
And he didn't ask, and I didn't ask, and whatever. He just arrived.
Yeah.
Boom, I'm here.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was good because he's been around forever, so I didn't care.
Yeah,
It was just good. He loved Timburn. He loved everybody. He'd go to senior sits and talk to them about UFOs.
Okay,
and
yeah.
people would come here to talk to him about UFOs.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now, what was the question?
I was just wondering, there was a period of time there, from what I've heard, where he went and lived at Moorabbin Airport for a while.
Well, he lived here, right?
Yes.
And he lived with Judy McGee, looked after her and lived with her.
Yeah.
And then this fella had a hangar or an aeroplane or whoever he was.
That would be Rick Wilson.
Yes,
yep.
and Peepa would tell me he's down there looking after his shed.
Yeah, yeah.
And I thought, oh, isn't that beautiful? So anyway, Peepa lived there. And it wasn't because he didn't have any, he lived with my kids around the traps and things and whatever. Yeah, wherever he goes, he hangs his hat, that's home.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he
And hostels, those youth hostels.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, he loved them.
Well, he stayed in a lot of those through his life?
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
Yeah, no.
Because there was a lot of people and he could talk to them.
Okay. So he's very much a person who liked to talk to people a lot then. Yeah. Very personable sort of guy.
Yep.
Yeah. So do you know what happened much with the Fred Valentich case? Because he would have been in the thick of it being at Moorabbin Airport at the time.
Yes, Peepa was onto that, and he spoke to all the family, the father, the mother, and whatever.
Guido and...
Yes, and I heard the tape. I've heard that tape, and Barbara's heard the tape. We've all heard the tape.
Okay, let me ask you a couple of questions about the tape, and we'll keep it fairly straightforward on that. First question I'd have for you on that is, at the end of the tape, after Fred says his final words, which apparently was something along the lines of, "It's not an aircraft."
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then there was like a strong metallic noise.
Yes.
If you've heard that tape, can you tell us what you would think that would have been?
I reckon the UFOs would have grabbed him.
Okay.
Because I could just feel that.
What did it sound like?
It was scrumps.
Like somebody
Metal,
crunching up metal?
Metal, yeah.
So do you think that might have been the plane or something on the plane? Is there any... I know that's a big question to ask, but if you think back to when you first heard that sound, did it sound like the entire plane was imploding into itself, or did it sound more like something was crunching it?
I don't know, but I do believe that he was taken by UFOs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what does Paul think?
He thinks that too.
Okay.
Yeah, that was his life thing. He was really,
Yeah, he spent a long time on that case.
A lot of time, a lot of money and a lot of effort.
Yes. And do you think that was good or bad for him in the long run?
For who?
For Paul.
Good. He loved it.
Yeah.
That was his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was Paul ever married?
Of course. How do you think he got 3 kids?
Well, who knows?
Oh, yes. Yes. His wife came out. I told you that before.
Yeah, okay.
His wife came out. He came out first on his own.
Oh, I see. Yep.
And Helen was his wife's name.
Yep.
And she came out with Larry, and they came out, and then Jeffrey came out later. Jeffrey's the one I married.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I heard that when Helen, I think you said her name was, passed away, it very much got to Paul in a big way. It hurt him a lot, and but then he donated all his time from that point onwards, totally and solely to UFOs.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So what was that period of time like?
For who? For him?
For him.
Brilliant. He had more time. No, that's awful. He had more time for his UFOs. He loved his UFOs. He loved his wife.
Yes.
And he said the place felt like, now what was it? She died, and he said it felt like a morgue.
Okay.
Because she's one of these people that talked all the time. He didn't listen or answer, but she still talked all the time. And she was a brilliant lady. She was from Tennessee, a country woman.
Yep.
And she used to say she was man without a country because she came out here. But if somebody died, she was off there with cakes for them and southern fried chicken. And we didn't have southern fried chicken then or anything. It was all, No, she was a very nice lady, she was.
And as Paul got older and obviously helped run the VUFOA group in Melbourne, that obviously took up a lot of his time. Did he tend to spend more time down there, or did he kind of come home here for a bit of a retreat now and again?
He was home here a lot of the time. He'd go down there and then he'd go off overseas.
Okay.
He went overseas every year.
Yep. And where would he go?
You name it, he went there.
Yep.
He's been to England, China.
Yep.
America, of course, and he's spoken all around the world at all these places. Wherever there was a UFO person, he'd end up on their doorstep. And they just love one another.
Yeah. Well, you're very lucky to have him.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a very, very intelligent man, and it's a little bit sad now that he's really not in a situation where he can do any more work on UFOs, but we really wanted to have this interview so that we could dedicate some time to him, because we don't believe it's ever been said. And so if you've got anything else that you'd like to add from here on, go for it.
It is sad, really, because Peepa and I had an understanding. It was that when he got old, and his son Larry knew that when he got old and couldn't care for himself sort of thing anymore, he was to come to me and I was to look after him. And we knew that was how it was. And that didn't eventuate. So, yeah. And all his grandkids
like
love him.
Sometimes, isn't it?
It's not always a box of chocolates.
No, that's right. No.
Yeah, and all his grandkids love him.
Yep.
You know, my kids, as I said, one's travelled down from Sydney to go and visit him today.
Yeah, yep.
He wants to see him before he dies.
Yeah,
but we don't know when anybody's going to die.
No, that's right.
And my kids do visit him, and he stayed with all of them along the way, and
Yep.
yeah, was always welcome.
Yep.
And he used to have his UFO friends, like I said to somebody before, Cynthia Hines from South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
She was a UFO person over there. She come and stayed here, and he's had lots of UFO people over the years come and stay with us.
Hard to remember all the names though, isn't
I
it?
can't remember any of them because that's just how it is.
Yeah, that's how it is, yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, folks, well, that's been really good. Well, I really appreciate your time and speaking with us today.
You're more than welcome.
There's so much information there that hasn't been able to be said over the years, and we've really just wanted to, I guess, have a short chat about it and make sure that everybody out there knows that Paul is still with us. He's not doing so good as he used to, and we thank him for all his work. So
he's born in 1916, so
well, there you go, 1916. That's I guess that's a long time ago.
yes.
I can't think how many years that is, but it's a long time ago.
So yes, it's still good to have him around.
Yeah.
And he's still pleased to see you. So
yeah. That's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's happy.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Thanks very much for your time, and we hope you've enjoyed this little interview. Goodbye.
Goodbye.